Say greetings, everyone. Greetings to everyone that will be joining, that will be watching. Greetings to you all. May all be well with you all. May all be well with you, your loved ones, and yeah, just nothing but good spirits and positive energy to you guys. So I wanted to cover something, right? Because I feel that it is important that people not let um their emotions or people preying on their emotions lead you astray. Uh as you can see, I have not really been that much active on here like that. But between Arawak and myself, we have uploaded some good stuff on the podcast for you guys to listen in on to um and to gather some information from. Um, we will be lining up some things coming up in the near future. Uh, and I also have some things to run over with him before we drop certain things or decide if we're going to do it or not. Because I've been getting some questions asked about the birth certificate and certain things, and I think we need to reiterate back on these things to put that information back out there for the people, because a lot of that was on the other channel that they deleted, that they took down, right? On the last two channels that they took down. Um, what we're going to do, we're going to, like I said, the podcast will be the place where we will be uploading the audios from now on when it comes to particular things, right? That's why we created the podcast, and um that's why I created also the Discord, so that people will never be left out. These things are always there now. So what I'm going to do is this weekend I'm going to put out back the Discord link, or if there's anyone that's listening or will be joining in, you could post the Discord link. The brothers and sisters in there, they share a lot of information, a lot of information um in the Discord. So it's something that if you don't have Discord, it's an app that's worth downloading and joining the group. Uh and the podcast as well. Let me see if I could get the podcast link right now and put the podcast link in the chat for you guys. All right, give me 1 second here. All right, because I do not have a laptop or a computer right now. I'm operating off my phone, so I could do one function at a time, basically. And I'm doing some research right now on the 1903 and 1918, which that's some information that's going to be very interesting when I drop it for you guys. Okay. Um, Let me get the podcast link. All right, and see. Let me type it in. See if it'll let me type it in. All right, it's not gonna let me because I'm using the StreamYard on my phone, so I don't see an option for me to text in here. Still getting used to this. No. All right, so what I'm gonna do is after this is finished, after this finish uploading, I'm gonna post the link to the podcast on here. All right. But let me just say peace and honor to everyone that is joining us right now. Sean Allen, Brandon Dyer, Anne Marie Bates, Jay Marie, Royalty Aboriginal, Chalet Wu, Original Lone Wolf. Honor to you guys. Um, so there's a video circulating with some brothers in camouflage, walking down a highway, and I believe the state troopers shut the road off on them, and they wanted them to open up the road. Now, I've been warning people for years, and majority of the attacks from our platform has come from um, the Moorish community, and a lot of the channels whose folks I told y'all that they are Moors and acting like they weren't. Now a lot of them are going by their Moorish names now. As I don't need to call a specific platform, as y'all can see now, right? Um, the thing is this: to the Moorish brothers and sisters that I speak with, and some of whom that I also actually hang out with from time to time. Um, it's much respect to them, right? Because we sit and we bounce information, or we just have casual conversations with each other. So I don't want people to think that I have an issue with every single person that says that they are more out there. What I like to do is clear up the confusion, because you have um agents that uses the terminology or act like they are not, to suck you into a particular organization. Okay. Now, for those who've been um part of my audience base from when I very first started, right, with the first platform that was taken down, the very first one that was taken down, I did extensive research and videos showing even the gangs, the Negro gangs of America, were founded and created by Masonic brothers and sisters who are a part of the Moorish Science Temple. Um, that goes to the Bloods, the Crips, obviously the Zulu Nation. People could say Zulu's not a gang, but they bodied a lot of people, and a lot of people's being thrown in trunks and body bags and a whole bunch of stuff. So it's a gang. Um, uh, Malachi Z. York, the Nuwapians, the founders or the orchestrators of the Pan African community, um, certain leaders within the Maroon community, um, uh, certain folks within the Black Lives Matter organizations, um, and we could keep going. Okay, now don't just put a Negro face to what is considered to be a Moor. And the reason why I'm pointing these things out is to show you the setup. If you research the Moor Science Temple, you see that they have Caucasian Moors, Asian, um, all different ethnic groups that are part of that organization that rocks that Moroccan flag. Now, the basis or the grounds of which they stand on, yep, black spades, aces, also, right? Um, I have not. I don't know why the black spades didn't even come to mind, but yeah. Now the reason why I'm doing this breakdown here like this is to put things into perspective. The basis and the grounds that they stand on to have any form of recognition here in the Americas, yeah, on American soil, is the Moroccan Treaty of Peace and Friendship, and that's the treaty that they did with the Sultan of Morocco, Ibn something. I can't like the name. I can't say the whole name, but when you do your research, you'll see it. Now, in one of the older formats of the treaty, in one of the articles, it said that their job was to make folks who weren't citizens of Morocco subjects to Morocco. Now, it's been rewritten, reformatted, and they took out that part of subject, that word subject, and they reformatted it, right? So now it will say something like um any more not of the Dominion, right? That means any more not of Morocco or Tunis or Algiers and these dominions that are now contracted with the United States Incorporated, that brings any citizen of the United States or any other land onto Morocco, right? um, that those people shall be set free on Moroccan land and shall be under the protection of the the His Majesty. Now, when they're saying His Majesty, when you read the newly formatted version or the reprinted version, it's make you think that it's like speaking of like a King George or some shit like that. But when they're saying His Majesty, they're talking about uh the Sultan of Morocco at the time. Now, if people understand, back into the 1700s, majority of the world was still being ran by dark-skinned folks. Majority of the lands were still dark-skinned people, dark and brown-skinned people. This is a fact. This is a fact that cannot be refuted. If people really research history and put in 4 years and dig deep into these archival records, you'll see these things. Okay, down to even Saudi Arabia up until the 1800s was being ran by a dark skinned face. And then he married outside of his ethnic group. And then that child took over, and that biracial child married again outside of the ethnic group and married a pale woman. And hence the royal family of Saudi Arabia all now look pale. All right. But they have Negro genetics within them. Reason why I'm mentioning all of this is that document, that peace and treaty document, okay, was signed by folks in Morocco. It wasn't signed by Negroes in America claiming to be Moors. So, even though in that document it says any Moor, now the Moors who are off the Dominion, right, who are off the contract between the United States and Morocco and France and all these other places, anymore. Now, now it says more who are not of the Dominion and Moors who are of the Dominion. Understand, when they're saying more, they're just talking about any dark-skinned person. You understand? So a Moor not of the Dominion would have been an American Indian who's dark-skinned, because Moor means dark. Okay. A dark-skinned Chinese person, a dark-skinned Japanese person, a dark-skinned Hawaiian who then sailed their ships up into Morocco and had slaves or captives from another country, or say a United States captive, because at that time during the Barbary Wars, they were capturing U.S. military men and holding them as prisoners. Okay, so so anyone who was not contracted with Morocco and the Allied states at that time that brought these people over into Morocco, they was to set them free, and they would be underneath the protection of the Sultan of Morocco. Right? Those are whom are not of the Dominion. So you could have been a black Hawaiian or whatever, and you go over there, you'll be considered a Moor because you're dark skinned. It has nothing to do with the Fez, has nothing to do with the Moorish Science Temple. It's just a word that they use, like when they say Afro, Afro Mexican, Afro Latino, Afro Hawaiian, Afro Japanese, Afro Chinese. Afro means dark skin, a particular type of dark skin or brown skin, phenotypical type of people. Right? This is what it means. Now, if you read that treaty carefully, so the ones whom are not of the Dominion that bring forth people over there, yeah, those people are set free, boom, boom, boom. All their parcels and stuff is supposed to be given back to them, and they're under the protection of the Sultan and are to be taken back, even back to their lands, right? And then the Moors whom are of the Dominion, okay, now the Moors whom are of the Dominion were the very same Moroccans that left Morocco and that was residing on American soil at the time. Because remember, we were going through a mass colonization. There were a big war for American soil, land, colonizing. You had the folks from India in 1845 that came by the millions. Okay, you had from the 1600s to the 1700s the Asian invasion that came during the supposed gold rush era. All right. So when these wars is breaking out with the Middle East and the ships and U.S. ships couldn't go through certain waters, they held each other captive. So you had Moroccans that was held captive here. on American soil, and you had Navy men that was held captive by the Moroccans of the United States, and they worked out this treaty called peace and friendship, where they became allies with each other and business partners. Okay, so the American Indian today calling themselves a Moor part of that treaty, it has nothing to do with them. The only way they can even be considered a part of that treaty is if they gave up their nationality to become a subject of the Kingdom of Morocco, or because this is colonization, what they were doing at the time, especially like with Raymond Tuhawk's ancestor, King Philip, yeah, they were slaughtering the American Indian tribes, men and women. They were slaughtering them. And in some areas, they segregated the men from the women and shipped off the men over into Africa and other places. And they left the females here. And all these folks, the Asians, the Moroccans, and stuff that was coming into the Americas were all male. And here goes the females right here being auctioned off to these males. Now they procreated with them, had children with them, and those children now becomes inherent to the land. Okay, they now inherit the land because why? They have the bloodline of the American Indian in them. But they when they became older continued on the work of their father of the colonizing ways and mentality. I want y'all to understand what's going on here. Now, because them trying to breed within our people. Now, this is how now you have Maroons, the mainland tribes that sided with well, I'm gonna let Arawak really go into that and break it down because this thing is very deep, people. But a lot of the tribes that were being separated from each other on the mainland was pushed out down into the very deep south in the swamplands, and then they were pushed out into the Caribbean. And this is where the term maroon comes from. Maroon is not a nationality. It just means people who were forced off of their land here on the soils of America onto the islands and into the deep south of the swamplands. These are maroons. Okay? That's what a maroon is. So people running around saying that maroon ID and maroon this and maroon that and maroon, that has nothing to do with any form of nationality. You have a section of the Maroons who are also underneath the Moorish Dominion that sold out and are contracted with Morocco and the U.S. corporation. Understand what's been going on here. This is why you see fez wearers in the Caribbean and these places. Now they put down the fez and there's ways to identify them. And I'm going to go into that in another video extensively. And who want to get upset, get upset. I don't care. But the truth is the truth. All right. But nationality. So anyone who joins the Moorish Science Temple who are American Indians. See, you have those who knows that their ancestors came from Morocco. And that's the big secret. You have those who don't know and they're being led astray by these ones and they're joining these organizations. And when you join that organization and you take on that flag, you put yourself as subject to Morocco. Even though they took the word subject out of the treaty, yeah, the newly written version, that doesn't dismiss the older version. Okay? Just means they're playing with words with you now. All right, because a lot of us figured it out and saw that word in there. So now it's been reprinted. All right. And a lot of times when something is reprinted, something is altered in there. Okay. So now when you go and saying that you are joining the Moorish Science Temple and you take on that red flag with the green star, you are now a subject of the Kingdom of Morocco. And when you take on the U.S. flag, yeah, the stars and stripes, not only are subject to Morocco, but you done contracted now with the United States Incorporated. Okay, making you also a subject of the United States Incorporated. You have no autonomy. You have no sovereignty. You have the illusion of sovereignty and autonomy. Now, those who operate within that basis, Yeah, and only operate in that basis. The high profile Moors that say, look, we got this and we got that, and we got all these houses and all these lands, and we are walking in these groups without guns, and see, they ain't arrest us, they ain't arrest you. They don't come down on you like that because you're carrying out the work of the organization of which you are supposed to carry out. You are turning American Indians into Moroccan subjects. Why are they doing that? Because this is not Morocco. And I'm tired of Negroes out there talking about, yeah, because we're in the land of Morocco. No, it's not. Every time they say that, they mean they're conquering certain dominions and territory in the name of Morocco to this very day. Now, the royal family that used to run Morocco, they lost power because Morocco is now taken over by the French, the Canadians, and the Brits. Okay? These three run the Moroccan Empire. All right. So still meaning that when you go and call yourself a Moor, you're locked underneath the dominion of the very same Europeans that a lot of y'all are out there talking about in the European and so on and so, but they're still a part of your organization as you are a part of theirs. There's a partnership there. Need people to understand this. So you go back through history. Who founded the Nation of Islam? It was a Middle Eastern man. Okay, who founded the Moorish Science Temple? It was a Middle Eastern man. Who taught Noble Drew Ali? It was a Middle Eastern man. That same Middle Eastern man that founded the Nation of Islam is the same man that founded the Moorish Science Temple, and it's the same man that had the influence in the creation of Rastafarianism. Pay attention. That goes back now down into the Pan-African community on all this Black Lives Matter and all these different type of organizations that they have out there with Negro faces. They are not separate. They are one and the same. And it is an agent organization that was created to take you away from your nationality. Pan-African movement was to ship your ass back to Africa mentally and spiritually. Okay? So you stop identifying as American Indian, you start identifying as Black and descendants of Africans. Even though when you do your genealogy, the paperwork, none of that shit says that. Okay? That's one way. It's the whole thing is about segregating you from the land. If they can't segregate you from the land, they're gonna come, they'll give you 90% of truth of the information, and the other 10% they hold from you because the other 10% is for them to acquire your land by any means. Do not fall for these groups that are going out there in the streets. You see the whole they got the well, y'all know what I'm talking about. You see when they're going out there in the streets with these guns on their backs and all that, and oh, we're our sovereignty and our autonomy and we're exercising. No, they're not. It's to entrap you into joining them to going out there. Understand? There's particular ones that have protection and there's particular ones that don't have protection. If you want to know the difference between you and the ones that have protection and don't, the ones that been for years had access to the birth certificate account and dipped into that account, and you, the ones who just are now learning about a seal and how to use a seal and how to properly use the postal service and what the difference is between the post office and the postal service. If you didn't know none of these type of information, you were on the bottom of the totem pole and you were the lamb that was being set up for the slaughter, even though you were a part of the organization. Understand this. Information is key. So you see them dudes going out there on the highways talk about they waving the Moroccan flag. Yeah, they also have the US flag patch as well. And understand that they're one on the same. They're not separate. So don't make them think that they're doing this and this is Morocco. This is not Morocco. That's some agent shit. That's some FBI, CIA type of shit that they're doing. And it's to cause some form of mass confusion because they're trying to also label some of these folks and parts of the organization of the Moorish Science Temple as terroristic organizations. You're being so set up for a major fail. Just stick to your nationality. Stick to who you are. Stick to the American hemisphere. I am a descendant of the Arawakan people of the Americas. That is who I am. You understand? I don't know nothing about this Morocco or none of this bullshit. Understand? You don't see me waving no Moroccan flag in the streets or none of that. You know why? because those are people who made contracts. More than half of the Moorish Science Temple folks don't have no Moroccan descent. They're just Negroes that was probably locked up in prison, and some Muslim came to them, gave them a motherfucking Quran or the Circle Seven Quran, right? And they felt like they saved their life in prison, so they came out and they're loyal to the cause, not knowing that what they're really doing is really getting you to be a foot soldier to trick other people into giving up their nationality and their land. It's a land grab. It's a straight up land grab. Okay. And in order for them to have any authority on the land, they need to get you up off of the land. Your feet shall no longer be up on the soil. Why? And they're not forcing you to do it. You're willingly doing it because you think that these people are honoring you and they're saving your life and they're getting you up out of the system. Right? So you gladly go along with the bullshit that they're talking about. Wake up. You're being tricked. And if people don't believe me, you research the founders of these gangs thoroughly. You research the founders of all these Pan-African, Nuwapian, Moorish Science Temple, the Prince Hall Masons. You research all of them, and you see that they're all fez wearers. It's not just a red fez. You got black fez, you got purple fez, you got blue fez, you got white fez. It's all the same shit. Okay, you'll see it. The American Indian never stopped being at war. It's just that you lost the knowledge, or you lost your identity because of all this whirlwind of chaos, of mass confusion, and different type of information that they have pushing out there that's false narratives. All right. This is not a game, people. Anybody that's giving you paperwork to do and you have to join a particular organ, you don't have to join no organization. There is many people out there that have put through documentation their documentations, did their paperwork and all these things, and it's not a part of none of that shit. And on their documentations, on their ID cards, it states their nationality of who they are. Not no corporate organization, not no 501c3 organization, none of that. They straight nationality of who they are. Single men and women out there. There's people out there that have done this. So if these people are serious and they mean well, yeah, these organizations, and they mean well, and they're saying, hey, all right, I can help you. But you say, hey, all right, help me with my paperwork, but I don't want no more science up or nothing about no more, none of that on my documents. Right? My grandmother, my great grandmother, and my family history says that I'm Choctaw. Then that's what you want on your stuff. If they're not willing to do that and they're still trying to convince you, but still, see, you still got to put this because, this was Northwest of Mexico, and this is where all that is bullshit. There's the Taino is just a part of the Arawakan language. The Taino group are also a part, the leaders of the Taino organization is also a part of the same shit that I'm talking about. You understand? It's a business. You sign their documentations, they get into that birth certificate account of yours, and they take that money and they push towards their business while the land is being signed over to the Moroccan Empire, and the Moroccan Empire is still ran and controlled by the same Caucasian Europeans that they're telling you stay away from. You understand? The history is so extensive and it's so deep. It is so deep. It goes back into the technology that you're seeing around you today. It goes back into the frequency that you give off. It goes back into what this side of the world stood for. Okay, it goes back into so much stuff. A lot of the world's people came here, down to even the Greeks, came into the Caribbean and up into the mainlands to get educated back into the 1200s, the 1300s. All right. So I really need people to understand that this is always and will always has always and will always be about existence. The rightful heirs or inheritors that was granted dominion over the American hemisphere, and you're being replaced. As long as you exist, they cannot cover up their lies. And so, by any means necessary, they must get rid of you. This is it. It's yeah, it's time to wake up. Okay, it's time to wake up. And I'm not saying that every ethnic group is along with this plan, and every Caucasian is along with this plan. Not all of them is not. You have some Caucasian that will straight up tell you the truth of what I just broke down to you, and even more deeper than what I've just broke down to you. You have Asians that will break down to. You have a there's a Chinese lady in my mother's class, yeah, and when they're talking about the history of China, that Chinese lady just told them, "Yo, you all stop talking. Let me tell you something about China. Just like how the United States has 50 states, so does China, and they all speak different languages. Half of the Chinese people don't even understand each other because they all speak different languages. All each state is a different language, and not all of the and it's not only because of the language barrier, but because of the ethnical and cultural differences is why they don't get along neither. And she will tell you that the Aboriginal Chinese of China were locked in prisons and experimented on. Okay, that's something else that I'm going to get into because I'm going to link that with the experiments of Nazi Germany and with the experiment that the scientist today called Jennifer Doudna has been doing to eliminate the genes or the genetics that give you your dark skin pigmentation by tampering with the sex cells and the ovaries of the female. All right. So understand, man, like this thing is deep. And the only way to get you to become submissive is when you see a lot of folks that look like you and you think they are you will ride with them. And that creates mass confusion. So the ones like me and American Airwax and them that will be telling you certain information, you will like, these brothers is crazy. And then it won't be till like 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, when you really start looking into the information, you come back and be like, damn, only if we had did this research then. That's the only document that they have that they can say, well, this is Morocco. It's the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. Once you tear that apart, they don't have nothing to stand on. And what they did over the years, when they created the Moore Science Stump, you had another guy that came and he trademarked and copyrighted the thing, right? Patented, and he created he turned it into an organization. He turned it into parts of it into a business. You understand? So it's something a little different from what Noble Drew Ali was doing, right? But he came, and this is how they're now. You see them on Dun and Bradstreet and all of this. Okay, he just took it to the next level because he started understanding that birth certificate account. So the more people that join and sign up for it, they have access to it because now you become a part of the trust that Noble Drew Ali and them created, the Morris Trust for the Morris Science Temple. Just like how HEMOC has his trust for NAAIP, and HEMOC is he's still a part of the Morris Science Temple Trust, allegedly. Let me just say allegedly. He claims that he's not He's no longer a Moor. I don't believe him, but allegedly. But Dane Calloway and them was a part of NAAIP. So they are part of Hemok Shelof's trust as well. You understand? Chief Kalanago and I allegedly maybe Kota Kibe. Kota Kibe to me, I believe him to be a scammer. I don't. Anyway, that's something else for another time. Okay, but watch out, people. Any organizations that want you to change your name, you change your name, you're giving up your nationality. What's in a name? Everything is in a name. Everything. It's not the colonizer's name. It's not no slave master's name. It's your name. Okay? Any organization that says, "Oh, well, add this then onto your name," El Ilin, no. That means you're saying that you stand allegiance to the Moroccan Empire. And this here is not Morocco. And then they want to speak on Mu. Mu was in between the Americas and the European nations. That's where Mu lied. And Mu is on the water today. So they're still not on Moroccan soil. So if they want to say Mu is really Morocco, okay, but you're still not there. So how do you come on someone else's land and trying to turn it into your shit? Okay? They've never left from underneath Hemok's trust. And Hemok itself put it out there that says everybody that was a part of NAAIP or associated with them or did paperwork with them is on the NAAIP, now NAAIP, now NAAIP's trust. That goes for Kalanaga, all of them niggas. They're still underneath his trust. They're still underneath it. If y'all pay attention to Hemok's Facebook page, because sometimes every now and then a brother sends me some videos and stuff, and when he talks, he's throwing his word on them Negroes that betrayed him. A lot of them betrayed him. You understand? Try to take his documentations. A lot of the paperwork that you see them pushing and effing up is Hemok stuff that they stole. His documentations, hundreds of his paperwork, and still don't know how to apply it properly. You understand? That's what Dane Calloway was selling when he said, "I wasn't selling paperwork. I was just selling." I was selling the links to this website, which he controlled. When he did the thing to Sister Soul Alchemy, when she went thinking that she was purchasing a particular document, and on the document it had NAAIP because I saw it because she sent it to me. It had NAAIP, and on the letterhead it had the Moorish Science Temple on the top of it. That's what Dane Calloway was pushing. Okay. That's the link. When she sent me that link and I clicked on it, that's what came up. And I was like, what the is this? Okay. So know the devils that you're messing with. You don't have to join nobody's organization. The information is out there. If you're a person that can read with comprehension and understand what you're reading and know how to apply it, you know how to push through your stuff. Right. So one of these days, what I'm going to do, I'm going to sit down with American Arawaks and have him break down a lot of this information for you guys so that you guys can understand and go on his channel and check out his channel. He has a ton of information on there, a ton of information on there. All right. You don't need to sell your soul to no organization or have no organization trick you to selling your soul to them. It's entrapment. It's lunacy. So when I see this video of this man waving the Moroccan flag, talking about this is Morocco, that's some buffoonery shit. It's not Morocco. It never will be. It's colonization. And it's Negroes that feel like they owe certain people some type of favor, some loyalty. And you really don't. Tell them thank you. If you was in a tight spot and they got you out of it, thank you. Thank you for what you did. If I can repay you one day, let me know. But it's not going to come at the cost of me selling my soul or giving up my land, my people, my nationality. Wars, the biggest wars are no longer done by the barrel of the gun. It's done through trickery, media, social media, mainstream media, these organizations that they put within the communities, down to even the white nationalist organizations are a part of these organizations. They're one and the same. That's why you could see the Lincoln Rockwell neo-Nazi leader sit in the front of a Nation of Islam gathering, and no one touches him. They're Fez brothers. Understand? That's pretty much all I really have to say, right? But we have some things that we are gathering, some information that we're going to put out there and push as far as when it comes to these vaccines and these things that these folks is putting out there. But those that information will be put on the podcast. All right. So when this is finished, when this uploads, I'm going to put the link to the podcast in the comment section. Sometimes they try to block the comment section or try to act like there's nothing posted in there, but if you just click in it, it will come up. You'll see it. Or click on the option that says new comment or latest comment, and it will come up. It will come up. You'll see it. All right. But folks, man, look, and see, you got some folks about, well, I have this document that allowed me to travel, and these travel documents. Yo, man. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you also another secret behind that with some of them. They become humanitarians with the United Nations. And then with the United Nations becoming a humanitarian through the United Nations and having that documentation or humanitarian certificate, which is a course, and then the course used to be $50. They get that, and then they can speak at certain events at the UN. All right. Now, along with that, yeah, and their ID card that they created, yeah, it gets recognized underneath the UN. Boom, 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 and it becomes a part of your travel documents with the UN. This is what some of them do, right? Then there's another way also as well where you have your documentation, you have your thing, you you secure your paperwork, you create your ID. You got some folks out there charging $92 to $100 to create an ID. All that is bullshit. It's like 15 to 20 something dollars for like two IDs. Like, come on, people. Like, the most important part is you must know how to protect your ID. Do you know how to protect it? It's not something that you just people sit down and mass produce and say, hey, you get an ID, you get an ID. No, it puts you in a lot of trouble if you don't know what you're doing. This is why a lot of folks that knows, or if you're not a part of an organization that can protect you, if you don't know how to protect yourself, you understand what I'm saying? So, like, this is y'all gonna learn. It's a lot of information that you guys are gonna come across, and you're gonna learn. You understand? And you could travel in any document you want, any document you really want, right? And you could pretty much amend any document that you want. You see what I'm saying? You just have to notify these offices, these head offices. If you see on the documentations it doesn't have nothing about American Indian or none of these things, you can notify them and say, hey, this is who you are, this is your nationality, and there's no option there, or you write in that option. And if they make your ID card, your passport and stuff, and they don't put that on there, then you write the head offices, the folks who are the top people who are in charge of said office, right? Because that's a major lawsuit, major criminal charges as well. You understand? It's so many different ways, people. There's so many different ways. Having these guys sell you snake oil, right? People charging 90 something dollars to $100, even if they design the goddamn ID. Huh? Anyway, y'all, I'm gonna get up out of here. Just be careful. Be careful. Okay. Like I said, anything and anyone that's telling you to change your name and put their organization on your documentation. No, just create. If you're gonna help me with my document, help me with my document. I'm not putting your organization and stuff for what? Who is your organization have allegiance to? Hmm? You got to ask these questions. Who do your organization have allegiance to? Who are you associated with? Who's your organization associated with? Who's your organization contracted with? Are you locked in also underneath the Moroccan Treaty of Peace and Friendship? What's going on here? People don't ask these questions before they go and make certain people do documentations and paperwork for them. Anyway, I have a rude person making a whole bunch of noise, so let me just get up out of here and go address this issue right now. But I say peace to you guys, love and light to you guys.